I don't think there's any question that flexibility is one of the most important skills to develop for trumpet players. Having greater flexibility means that you're going to be able to get from the top of the range to the bottom of the range of the trumpet with more ease. It's also going to help you have a smoother and a more fluid approach to music making. There are a ton of great method books you can use to develop flexibility, but which one's the best? In this video, we're going to be talking about my favorite flexibility book and one that I come back to time and time again, the Bai Lin Lip Flexibilities. The reason this book is my favorite is because it's both simple and it's progressive. When I'm working on the actual skill of flexibility and just fundamentals in general, I try to preferentially use exercises that are easy or simple to understand. The reason I like simple exercises for this purpose is so that instead of focusing on the notes and just trying to figure out how to play the exercise, I can focus more on the skill that I'm trying to refine and improve. This book is also progressive, which means that it starts off with some very easy exercises that should be accessible to pretty much anybody, and it progresses in difficulty all the way until there are exercises that me, at my level of development, I can't even really play 100% consistently. Now, I'm not saying that because the Bai Lin book is my favorite, it means all other books are bad. I just like the Bai Lins for these reasons. Another book I enjoy working out of is Scott Belk's flexibility book, but this serves a different purpose for me. The way that I see Bai Lin, it's broken up into 3 different types of exercises. You have slow exercises, you have duple exercises, and then triplet exercises. The slow exercises in Bai Lin are slow and they can be kind of boring, and so it makes it easy to skip over them. I think this is a mistake. I think there's a lot of purifying elements of playing these slow exercises, even at slow tempos, and the challenge of these exercises is to try to maintain a very consistent or steady tone, and then to not telegraph that you're going to change notes at the end of them, but rather you have one long, completely steady note, and then at the end it quickly changes into the next note, and then so on throughout the exercise. When I'm assigning these to students, I almost always start with assigning the very first page of this book, page 6. I like it because it's very basic and the notes are not a challenge, so it almost immediately reveals where my students have struggles with this type of flexibility, and we can get right down to business. I personally find a good amount of benefit when playing these exercises somewhere in the 60 to 90 beat per minute range. Even though these exercises are slow and somewhat basic, in the Bai Lin book, it does have a level of progression where you increase the intervals that it's asking you to do, making it more difficult. The duple exercises found in this book are similar to the ones found in Schlossberg or the Colon Lip Flexibilities, and the goal of these exercises is to try to keep a very consistent airstream while playing from the resonant center of one note to the resonant center of another. It's a similar goal that you had in the slow flexibilities, but now because the notes are moving faster, you have a different kind of challenge in keeping a steady airstream while aiming in different spots. Progressing these duple exercises makes up a good portion of this book. What I have found is there are generally two types of these duple exercises. Ones where the leaps aren't that large. You're sort of slowly making your way through the range and back down. And then there are other exercises where the intervals are much larger, challenging your ability to do large leaps. For these exercises, I find a tempo range of somewhere between 90 beats per minute and 120 beats per minute to be a good range to practice in. Although it starts simple, by the end of this book, there are some crazy exercises that I can play sometimes, but I'm still, like I said earlier, struggling to find as much consistency as I would like. The triplet exercises in this book I find to be the most challenging, but for whatever reason, they're also the most fun. The goal of them is the same as the duple exercises. You're trying to keep a very consistent stream of air while playing from the resonant center of one note to the resonant center of another note. For these, I have a greater tempo range than the other ones, playing from somewhere around 60 beats per minute to 110 beats per minute. Obviously, all of these tempo suggestions are going to be dependent on you and your skill level. So if you find the low end of the range to be too fast, go slower. And if you're very good at flexibility and you want to use these to push yourself, go ahead and play faster. They're just general recommendations. Pages 14, 16, 17, and 18 all have some really great introductory triplet exercises to work through. Like the duple exercises, a good portion of this book is spent progressing these triplet exercises as well, and you can find some really fun and very, very challenging exercises by the time you get to the end of this book as well. My suggestion for tackling a book like this is to start with finding the easiest or the most simple exercises and trying to just establish those habits that we were talking about, a consistent airstream and then playing from the center of one note to another. When you begin to feel more comfortable with a particular exercise, then look through the book to try to find something that's slightly more difficult than what you were working on, but not so difficult that it's going to be outside of your reach. You're really just trying to do step-by-step progress here. I do want to say that it can get really easy to get caught up in trying to have things be absolutely perfect at some tempo before you move on. While this thought is a good thought, I don't think it's necessarily how progress best works. And finding ways to challenge yourself with different tempos is good, but when you get to a point where you feel like it's right, but you're not perfect, it's okay to move on and continue challenging yourself. Maybe later you want to come back to some of those basic exercises to see what kind of progress you've made later on. My suggestion for when to know how to move on is to just pick a amount of time that you're going to pursue working on a particular set of exercises. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4 weeks. At the end of that time frame, you've been working on these same exercises for that whole time. Then decide, do I feel like I have a good enough understanding of these that I can move on, or do I need to keep working on them for a little bit longer and keep trying to figure out how to have more consistency? I said at the beginning of this video that flexibility is one of the most important skills that you can develop on the trumpet, and it's true. It is important, but there are other skills that are also important. If you want to know what I think about those skills, click the link on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.